Well, we have something very important we have to do. Okay. Now that that's done, we can head to Ishgard, which is where I thought I was. Oh, here. We are on to the last stage of this. So let's see what the student body's revenge is. Oh, Archon. I was wondering when you'd show up. The Temple Knights have deemed Ulaf fit to recount the events of her kidnapping, and have taken her to the room just beyond for questioning, with Blazy to accompany for support. It would appear the questioning is done. Let us see what we might learn. Hail, my good man. I'm Inspector Briardian, and this is my associate, Archon. I understand that you've spoken with Ula regarding her kidnapping? Is there aught you might share with us? Inspector Briardian, Master Archon. I fear that it would seem that Lady Ula knows even less of her own abduction than we do. As she tells it, the only people who saw her during her captivity were the two thugs now in her custody. We've questioned them thrice over, but they insist their employer had disguised themselves so well that they cannot even say for certain if they were man or woman, much less give a description. For what little it's worth, we did learn that the two were once orphaned, raised as charges of the sea, to betray the nation that fed and clothed them for a handful of coin. But I must return to my post. Should we come across anything of actual significance, I shall be sure to alert you. Lazy. Are there any details our friend may have neglected to mention? That Ula's testimony proved entirely unenlightening. There is another development, however, that has been troubling me. Rumors that Archambadin was behind the abduction are circulating around this classicate once more. Again with those asinine allegations. This time, the students seem convinced more than ever of his guilt. No longer content to sit back and wait for events to take their course, they've been pushing for his expulsion. He has been doing his best to convince them to disregard the rumors, but it seems any mention of Archambadin only serves to fuel their rage. I must hurry back and help him. I suspect that this is less a reflection of the prefect himself than a manifestation of aimless anxiety and fear. Still, I dare say this commotion might prove to be an opportunity in disguise. I shall make my way to the vault to continue my own investigations. In the meantime, I ask that you go and keep an eye on the seminarians and an ear to the ground. Can do, boss! Yeah. Okay. Shout all over the place. Well, everyone seems very happy. What if those ruffians truly were in his employ? Are we to stand idly by until he betrays one of us as he did poor Ola? His refusal to provide us with anything resembling a reasonable explanation speaks for itself. The boy is guilty, and I say we move to have him expelled from the Scholasticate, effective immediately. Theomasan, I demand that you take lead of this charge. Here you've come, Archon. Since the headmistress called everyone away for an emergency meeting, it's been absolute chaos. They're so incensed they won't listen to a word Theo or I say. Perhaps if you were to speak with them, it would help to soothe their angry feelings. Chill out, buddy. Second thought, I dare say you have the right of it. The prefect has the riches of House Samuel at his disposal, and powerful allies just waiting to spring to his aid. We must step back and consider our actions carefully, lest we find ourselves strung up by the necks. So you would suggest we do nothing? The longer we dither without taking action, the greater the risk of him finding us out. And when he does, he'll see every last one of us suffer for it. Mark my words. Is frightened, as are we all, but that is precisely why we must proceed with caution. As you rightly observed, if we act out of anger or despair, we only doom ourselves to failure. Please, sir, if you would rally your spirits as you have calmed mine down. I don't have that one on a button. The rally emote's ridiculous. But, of course. It is exactly as you say. Forgive me. My fear had gotten the better of me. Indeed, there is little he can do to us if we act as one and proceed with due caution. And remember, once Chambadin is removed from the school, the administration will keep us safe. So we need not fear his retribution ever again. We must move swiftly, surely, to ensure this expulsion. Yuma-san, can we count on you to lead us? Archon. Now that everyone is feeling more at ease, let us open the floor for discussion. I welcome any and all opinions, provided that they are delivered in a calm and orderly fashion. I believe there is just cause to expel Archambadin. Archon was kind enough to point out, however, we should not act brashly. That is why you, the Yuma-san, with your calm demeanor, are best suited to head our appeal to have him removed. What say you? Given the way he's treated you in the past, I can understand why you'd readily assume the worst of him. I cannot help but believe, however, that he, too, is a victim in all this. Strange to think that anyone who cares so deeply about the Scholasticate and its inhabitants could commit such an atrocity. Theo, for the Fury's sake, you would defend the very individual who for the past several years ridiculed and tortured us? Is it so impossible for you to believe that he is capable of such villainy? Well, there's proof to say he's guilty. You must give him the benefit of the doubt. He was rightly. The bear now grow love for Archambadin either. Even the Temple Knights have been unable to uncover a single piece of evidence tying him to the kidnapping. Same knights who have pulled the wool over our eyes for 1,000 years, stripping us of all we own to protect men like him. How heartening that is to hear. I would have thought that after all you'd endured at Archambadin's hands, you would stand with us. See, I was wrong. Friends, it would seem the commoner has grown too content under the noble one's yoke to fight for his ideals. If we are to see justice served, we must do so with our own strength, our own voices. Let us draft a petition, that our grievances might be heard and the blackguard expelled. You considered, like, getting actual evidence that he did anything? How can they be so blind? The villain who kidnapped Ula is playing us all for fools, stoking the flames of hatred. We might all be consumed by them. I don't like Archombaudin either, but... He did it. What's your proof? I said he did it. Not a good way to do anything. Only I could have done more to dissuade them. This blind persecution will only serve to further divide us, and Archombaudin's expulsion would be a tremendous loss for the Scholasticate. I will not listen to reason. I agree with you on half of those things. You know, there's still time to turn things around. I'm sure of it. I'll help you in any way I can. Thank you, Blazy, for your kind words. Indeed, it's not too late to reverse the course of today's events. You should try speaking with Father Saturno. Surely he'll know what to do. Incredible. Despite all that, he's still intent on saving Archombaudin. Archon, there's no talking about it now. Considering how our last discussion ended, it would put me much at ease if you would accompany us. I shall be staying behind. There are a few things that I would attend to here. My dear Blazy, if you would, I could do with an extra set of hands. In that case, Lee, Archon, let us make haste to the cathedral. The headmistress's meeting will not run forever. We must catch Father Saturno before the others do. Good thing we're basically in the cathedral already. Sin? Lee? Archon? And whatever brings you here in such a hurry. Perhaps it concerns the petition I just received from the student body? Not to worry. Rest assured that I have reviewed the document and will be submitting it to the headmistress shortly, along with my strong recommendation in favor of Archombaudin's immediate and irrevocable expulsion from this Scholasticate. On what grounds? Father, not here in support of the position, but rather to argue against it. You cannot rightly expel Archombaudin for a crime that the evidence, or lack thereof, suggests he did not even commit. Quite true. And yet it is not because I believe him guilty that I have chosen to move forward with this proposal. Coffee grounds? Ah, okay. You would like to roll Archombaudin around on coffee grounds, and that's your justification for expelling him from the Scholasticate? Understood. Then... Too long has our church been corrupted by men and women who would see its foundation built upon sin instead of virtue. I mean to put an end to this vicious cycle. What are you saying? Lee, there is something you must know. When I was young, I too was taken under the wing of Father Chorso. It was by his good graces that I gained admission to the Scholasticate, not unlike yourselves. I devoted myself entirely to my studies. that I might prove myself worthy of his kindness. My dedication was rewarded when I graduated at the top of my class. Secured a prize position in the archives, alongside some of the Holy See's most esteemed individuals. I was there that I met the man who would become my closest friend and confidant. 10 years he had toiled in the sea's darkest recesses, working to see that the ugly truth of Ishgard's past would never see the light of day. Till the bright day the burden grew too great to bear, and he took his own life. For years I was torn between grief and anger at not being able to save him from his face. Fearing my anguish could consume me, I found succor in my religion. Day and night I'd pore over scripture. Soon I found myself back in these very halls, not as a student, but as a teacher. Tragic story indeed, and you have my condolences for your loss. What does any of this have to do with Archambadin? Of the Fury's love will all men receive, and by the balance of her spear will all be set free. Doubtless you, too, are familiar with these words. Those who deny the teachings of Volume 11 commit the greatest sin of all. They must bear full responsibility for the injustices wrought on the victims of our society. Master Archambadin has done naught but scorn the truths bend within the tome. His dismissal is long overdue. This is madness. The Fury knows I bear no love for the bastard, but what you propose is to lay the blame for generation upon generation of the Church's transgressions at his feet. Do only what must be done. Countless lives were lost in the Dragonsong War. Must needs purge the Church of any who espouse the false ideal that all men are not born equal. The sins of our past are never repeated, and the clergy might be restored to their former glory. Faith in you, my children. Reflect on the teachings of Father Choiseul. If you don't understand now, you will soon enough. So expel him for not being true to the faith, for refusing to acknowledge a core teaching. Don't expel him under false pretenses. It's true that Father Choiseul was an ardent advocate of equality. He strove always to adhere to the principles espoused and equal under her ever-watchful gaze. It is equally true that Archambadin has been outspoken in condemning that selfsame passage. Still, it hardly warrants his expulsion. I must admit the man has a point. Making an example of the son of one of Ishgard's most prominent houses would send a message. It just might be the fastest way to bring about the change he seeks. Whether or not that change would be for the better, however, is another matter entirely. It's one thing, but it was just an angry mob of seminarians calling for Archambadin said. Now that Father Satanoid intends to lead the charge, it's another matter entirely. What are we to do? Yeah, let's talk to the accused. Of course. Archambadin's nothing if not astute. He's sure to have an idea, too, of how to extricate himself from this predicament. Come, let us make for the pillars. There. Sup? you guys been up to? Baseless accusations. Would you care to hurl at me this time? Attempting to destroy the church? Or perhaps you're here to bring to light the personal hand I had in instigating the Dragonsong War. Perhaps instead of entertaining every ridiculous rumor you hear, you might actually make yourself useful for once. You can start by questioning those two beside you. After all, they're the ones who arranged this entire farce have been spreading these letters in a pathetically transparent attempt to incriminate me that I might be expelled. Listen, Archombadan. We know that the accusations being leveled at you are unfounded. I know we've had our differences, but today we come to lend you our aid. So full of rage, you can scarcely hear a word I say. Zarkon, perhaps you can try soothing him? Ah! Don't make me laugh. You expect me to believe that you, the two who would stand to gain the most from my expulsion, have not so much as seen the nonsense that's been making the rounds of the dormitories? The truth revealed. Archombadan to Zemael, a kidnapper? Trust me, were we to try and implicate you in a crime you didn't commit, we would have done a far more thorough job than this. Make an appeal to emotion. Not a single piece of concrete evidence to support the accusation. Fine. Perhaps it wasn't you two after all. Still, rest assured that when I get my hands on the commoner that did this, they'll rue the day they thought to meddle with the affairs of House Samael. You best realize we commoners are not the ones on trial here. You are. I suggest you watch your tongue, unless you would prefer to lose the only allies you seem to have these days. Do not lose heart, Archombadan. Together we'll uncover the truth and see that this baseless petition against you is withdrawn. Why would I need your help? My innocence is beyond question. The Fury herself will see my good name restored. She will. In the meantime, we too shall do our part. Very sake, Leo, leave it be. That aside, where did these papers even come from? And why didn't we receive one? I had to guess, perhaps they were given only to those most inclined to believe the accusations. Foolishness at best. If anything, these letters will only give me the clues I need to identify the coward behind them. Matter of fact, I believe I know precisely where to begin my search. Really. I'd be more than happy to assist you in the investigation. Where would you have us go? To hand you the very knife you would put in my back? You think me daft? The petition is approved and I am expelled. That would put you right at the top of the class. How very convenient. Oh, Archombadan, don't you see? It's not for awards or accolades that I study the scripture as I do. I seek only to follow in the footsteps of Father Choiseul. It was he who granted me the chance to achieve the grand vision he had for our realm and bring relief to those in need of spiritual succor. Fury's love will all men receive, and by the balance of her spear will all be set free. Share the wisdom of these words with all of Ishgard. Volume 11 of the 72 Articles of Hellenic Polity. Most commoners and their obsession with that over-idealistic screed. Calm, Archombadan. Let us not waste any further time entertaining the idle musings of the riffraff. Look, we can manage just fine without your help. But if you do find anything, not that we expect you to, you report back to us if you know it's good for you. Understood? Or you could, you know, stop this I am better than you by virtue of my birth bullshit that you're on about. Almost like that's the exact reason someone's trying to kick you out. Don't know better. I almost say that sounded like a thank you. Well, if there's nothing else to do here, I suppose we should set to work. Excellent idea, Lee. Now, where do you suppose we should start? Ah, the Fury save us.